Hey y'all, it's Melissa at Twin Oaks Farm in rural southeast Ohio, USA. Thanks for joining us in our meat bird production barn. We are raising meat chickens to produce poultry, and we are at the very end of a production cycle with a flock of Cornish Rock cross meat chickens. So we're going to take a look at the birds. This video is Broilers Day 44. We've been doing a video a day on this flock from day one, which was their hatch day and the day that they moved onto the farm, and we will continue to do videos on them through day 45. That's the day they go to processing, and then we'll do some follow-up videos after the fact. A little bit of time will elapse, but we'll do some follow-up videos on them to share how much poultry we got back out of this flock and to share what cuts we had it processed into. We will get several whole chickens, but we also tend to get cuts like boneless, skinless chicken breast. We have some requests for boneless, skinless chicken thighs and requests for ground chicken patties. So it'll be a variety of things that we get back from them. But they were hatched on August 23rd, 2023. We requested 300 chicks and we got 305 when our order was shipped here. So now it is October 5th, 2023. They're 44 days old, so just a little over 6 weeks. And they are going to processing at the beginning of day 45. So we are, well, we're less than 12 hours from loading them into live chicken transport crates, which are these. They're hanging on the wall. They should be for use. You have them setting flat on the floor, and the side that we're looking at is the top, and it has a slide door that you load the chickens from over top of down into, and then about 8 of these chickens will fit into those transport crates. So that'll happen on the morning of day 45 to safely transport the birds to the processor. We opt to take them to a USDA inspected processor. Our customers actually value and appreciate that, and so that's really our main motivation for going ahead and using a processor. It actually does double, more or less double our production costs. Right now we're at about $6.98 per bird average production cost, and that takes into consideration the cost of the chickens and the cost of the feed that we fed them and the cost of the bedding material that we've used in the pen for them, and it also includes a little bit of a utility allotment. We've run supplemental heat off of those heat lamps part of the time. So all of those things together, it's averaged just right at $7 a bird. But by the time that we utilize the professional processor service, then that'll just about double the production cost. So of course that does get figured into the prices that you can sell the poultry at. So and this is so that's a rooster here that's being aggressive, and that's part of the reason we do not like to raise them for longer than 6 weeks, because that seems to be a time that we observe the roosters in this variety of chicken, the Cornish Rock cross meat chickens, just become more aggressive toward the other birds, particularly toward other roosters. So we do have some roosters that show considerable wounding, in my opinion, on their combs and wattles and just behind their ears, and that's from other roosters initiating altercations with them. So the roosters become more and more snarly the longer that you keep them. And since we get straight run flocks that include roosters and hens, we have both. So the roosters can become just a problem to deal with after about 6 weeks. So anyway, flock population is 295. We started, I think I was on to saying that, we started with 305, and we have had some random flock loss. Fortunately, we were able to maintain really favorable conditions. We had some good fortune with weather that was agreeable to the flock for the most part, and we were able to keep the conditions favorable and to their liking, temperature wise and stocking density wise and feed consumption wise. So the flock has really finished well. So with having good conditions across the flock, we didn't have huge significant losses, flock losses, but there typically is some random individual flock loss prior to processing at a minimum, and it's not unheard of to have 20 to 30% flock loss in a flock of Cornish rock cross meat chickens, but we've lost 10 out of 305, so we're very, very, very encouraged by that, to be looking at taking 295 out of 305 chickens to the processor. So successful flock, and very, very grateful that we have a successful flock. So that's flock population, and you're getting a look at the birds. So procedure that we put into place prior to processing. It's very important, no matter what the numbers in your flock are, no matter how large or small your flock is, and no matter what the time span of production length was from hatch to harvest, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the span of production. It doesn't matter the number of birds. It doesn't matter if you're processing them yourself, or taking them to the processor. I want to show you those birds. Or taking them to the processor, or processing them yourself. It doesn't matter. You need to initiate feed withdrawal 12 to 18 hours prior to processing, regardless of any circumstances, regardless of number of birds, regardless of if they're 4 weeks old, 5 weeks old, 8 weeks old, and regardless of who's doing the processing. 12 to 18 hours prior to the time of processing, you need to initiate feed withdrawal. This is an important procedure in preparing meat birds for processing. It's really the final important step in preparing meat birds for processing. So in order to initiate feed withdrawal, it just means that you take feed away from the birds. So whether you actually go into where they're living and take the feeders away, or whether you just go into where they're living and visually observe and verify that the feed is actually gone and that the feeder trays are empty, you just need to make sure that they don't have access to food, and start that about 12 to 18 hours before you expect them to be processed. In doing that, you are ensuring that the chicken's body has time to digest and eliminate any food that they've consumed prior to going to processing. And it is important for that food that they've consumed to be digested and eliminated prior to processing, because it makes processing considerably cleaner and more hygienic. There's potential, if the birds haven't had time to digest and eliminate any food that they've consumed, there's potential for the remains of any feedstuffs in their digestive systems to spill into the processing area when they're being processed, and that just isn't desirable. So in order to prevent that, we initiate feed withdrawal, again, 12 to 18 hours prior to processing. And so initiating feed withdrawal basically just requires two things. Make sure that they don't have access to food, and make sure that they do have access to water. So that's what's left in our pen of chickens, is 4 waters that hold 5 gallons each. So you need to make sure that they continue to have access to water. So when you take the food away, top off their water, and then check their water regularly and make sure it does not run out empty. Because once you've initiated feed withdrawal, in order to successfully accomplish feed withdrawal, you need to make sure that they continue to not have access to food, but they continually have access to water, and they also continue to move around to some extent, because that's just across the board with all living creatures. To facilitate digestion and elimination, we need to stop the eating, continuing the consuming water, and move around. And those 3 things will help facilitate digestion and elimination. So those are the principles that we use with the birds to accomplish successful feed withdrawal. So that's the important procedure on the next to last day of production that a flock manager needs to take care of with their chickens. So I will tell you, you've seen these birds out here in this separate area from the birds in there. So our building is about 30 foot by 30 foot, and we generally confine the birds down to whatever area we want them in and leave ourselves a little bit of room like around the perimeter of the building in order to, like, a place to set feed, a place to set a few supplies that we also keep on hand and nearby the flock. So this flock, the 295 birds, is supposed to have this area that's like 20 foot by 25 foot, and we confine them by building a short wall. And so this short wall is there, but from that side of it, inside the pen, they're able to get to the top of the short wall and over it. But if they get out of there, they can't get back on top of it and back over it, because inside of the pen, it's the effect of a raised floor. So the reason for that, I appreciate if you've hung around this long, and so this is just kind of like extra random information, I guess. But the reason that there's an effect of a raised floor inside that pen is because out here we don't put any bedding on it, and we're down to the floor of the building, which is limestone screenings. Inside there, we've been putting pine shavings, and so this is called a deep litter bedding system. So the deep litter, deep refers to that it's building up in depth as we add to it. And so basically we put fresh bedding down, let the birds utilize it, and when it has reached like its maximum absorbency capacity of the manure and moisture load that the birds are putting on it, then we just add more fresh bedding on top of it. So as you're doing that over a course of like the 6 weeks that we've raised these birds, that's built up a floor that's basically like 4 to 6 inches in any given place. So over there where they are, the floor is raised, and over here it's in effect sunken to them if they end up over the short wall. So there's really only supposed to be 3 birds over here. There are 3 birds that we actually pulled out of the flock at large because they had some leg weakness issues and mobility issues, which is not uncommon in Cornish rock cross meat chickens because of their propensity for the rapid growth. Sometimes they outgrow their ability to bear their own weight on their legs, and then they have mobility problems. Well, here in a small commercial operation, just like every other operation, we have the opportunity to provide excellent quality of life for the livestock in production as a flock. But with being a small commercial operation, and would be the case in a household consumption operation as well, we have the flexibility to differentiate management practices if we have individuals that perhaps need maybe some special measures to help them recover strength, recover mobility, and not have to compete with the stronger members of the flock at large, and not have to manage internally the stress of living in the larger community. So we were able to separate them out. But as I said, there were actually only 3 that should be over here that we intentionally separated out of the flock. And then really just today, there's now like 13 birds over here total. And really the extra birds have just joined the trio of birds just today. And I think the motivation is we've taken their food away. We initiated food withdrawal earlier in the day. In fact, we've had them on a food allotment of 100 pounds of feed a day. And here in the last couple days, we had taken them off of the prepared complete feed that was called a crumble. We'd taken them off of that and just been feeding them 100 pounds of cracked corn a day. And so this morning, on day 44, we only fed them 50 pounds of cracked corn for the day. So they basically ran out of feed and emptied the feeders, coinciding with the time that we wanted to start feed withdrawal. So I think their motivation for trying to scale the short wall is that they think maybe there's food over here for them, but there's not. It's the same throughout the barn. All 295 birds are on the same feed withdrawal schedule, so they might have been over here. Now this is one that we pulled out because he had some leg weakness and he couldn't walk when we separated him out of the flock, and now he can. So now he can get up, bear his weight, walk around. So it is a success story. It's especially a success story when we have like birds that need to recover strength and mobility issues, and they do, and they can then walk and get to food and get to water and make it through production. We look at it as 295 success stories, even though we acknowledge it's a production agriculture operation for the purpose of meat production, and every animal in it is terminal, meaning every animal in it is going to be slaughtered. But we still look at each one receiving excellent quality of life and being able to complete production from start to finish, from hatch day to harvest day, as a success, because that is how we get top quality meat products that are wholesome and nutritious and fit for human consumption. Y'all, this is part of the initiative that we promote, and we share it on our YouTube channel. Real meat only comes from real animals, and real good chicken only comes from real chickens. So without production agriculture operations that raise livestock for meat production, we don't have top quality meat products. So you know, that's why we do our best to take really great care of the animals, because we want them to have quality of life, and we want to accomplish the outcome of really top quality meat products from production agriculture. So that's why we ask people to heart local ag, wherever local is for you, and try to source as much food as you possibly can locally, whether that's in your own backyard or at your own home place with livestock you raise or gardens you produce, or by connecting with farmers through farmers markets or at producers' farms in your area. And sometimes you can even connect with local produce, local meat, local dairy, local eggs at your grocers in your area, because oftentimes grocers will carry local produce and local products in their stores. So thanks y'all for joining us. Heart local ag, wherever local is for you, and join us back in the barn on Broilers Day 45 when we are loading these birds into transport crates to prepare to take them to the poultry processor. Thanks so much. God bless y'all. We appreciate you watching our channel. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please give the video a thumbs up and join us again. We'll let this roll out here about 10 more seconds.